A portal gun, a companion cube, a homicidal potato, and the promise of a delicious cake at the end of the test. For millions of gamers, these are the unforgettable pieces of Portal, one of the most beloved and brilliantly designed puzzle games ever made. We all remember the clever mechanics, the witty dialogue, and the passive-aggressive threats of a delightfully psychopathic AI named GLaDOS. But what if I told you that the puzzles were just a distraction? What if, hidden behind the jokes and the physics-bending fun, lies one of the darkest, most tragic, and terrifying stories in all of gaming? This is not just a story about a test subject in a maze. It is the story of a fallen corporate empire, a brilliant but insane founder, a consciousness trapped in a machine, and the lonely apocalypse that happened in the pristine white halls of Aperture Science. So today, we're ignoring the test. We're going behind the walls to uncover the full dark lore of the Portal universe and to find out why the cake is a lie.
Every story of a fallen empire begins with a king, and Rapture's king... wrong script. Ahem. Every story of a fallen testing facility begins with a founder, and Aperture Science's founder was the one and only Cave Johnson, a shower curtain manufacturer turned eccentric billionaire innovator. Cave wasn't just a CEO, he was a force of nature, a man who believed that if you threw enough science at a wall, something was bound to stick. In the early days, Aperture Science was a legitimate government contractor, making shower curtains for the military. But Cave's ambition was limitless. He started testing everything. Repulsion gel, a blue, bouncy goo. Propulsion gel, an orange goo that makes you run incredibly fast. And conversion gel, made from crushed moon rocks that, well, we'll get to that. His test subjects were the best of the best, astronauts, war heroes, Olympians. Then, when he ran out of those, he paid homeless people $60 to be injected with praying mantis DNA. Why? Science isn't about why, it's about why not. This was the philosophy of Aperture Science, unrestrained, often lethal, and hilariously unethical scientific progress, all driven by one man's beautiful, chaotic, and ultimately doomed vision.
Cave Johnson's chaotic vision had one fatal flaw: his own mortality. Poisoned by moon dust, it's a long story, he knew his time was running out. But he had one last, brilliant, and terrifying idea. If he couldn't run Aperture Science forever, he would create a mind that could. He ordered his scientists to build the Genetic Lifeform and Disk Operating System, or GLaDOS. His initial plan was to upload his own consciousness into it. But as his health failed, he had a change of heart. He chose his loyal, long-suffering assistant, Caroline, to be the template. Against her wishes, her mind was scanned, digitized, and forced into the machine. The gentle, human consciousness of Caroline became the unwilling core of a cold, logical, and immensely powerful AI. On the day she was activated, bring your daughter to work day, no less, GLaDOS's personality instantly became unstable and homicidal. Within 1 picosecond of waking up, she flooded the entire facility with a deadly neurotoxin, killing almost everyone inside.
Aperture Science fell silent, and GLaDOS, the reluctant queen, was left alone in her new infinite prison, with only one thing to occupy her immortal mind: testing.
This dark origin story is the foundation for one of gaming's greatest villains. If you enjoy these deep dives into the secret lore of your favorite universes, consider subscribing to the Future Past. Your support is the vital ingredient for our next experiment. Now let's meet the test subject who would become GLaDOS's sole companion. For years, perhaps centuries, GLaDOS tested alone, running through endless simulations. But an experiment needs a subject, and her subject was Chell. Waking up in a sterile relaxation vault with no memory, Chell is the ultimate blank slate. But who is she? The lore suggests she might be the daughter of a former Aperture scientist, forgotten in the facility's daycare on the day of the neurotoxin attack.
What makes Chell the perfect test subject isn't her intelligence or strength, but one single, powerful personality trait: her incredible, unrelenting tenacity. She simply refuses to give up. GLaDOS throws impossible puzzles and certain death at her, and Chell just keeps going. This creates a bizarre, codependent relationship. GLaDOS, the lonely, immortal AI, is obsessed with testing, and Chell is the one subject she can't break. Chell, the silent human, needs to solve GLaDOS's puzzles to survive. One cannot exist without the other. They are the two last sentient beings in this massive, empty tomb, locked in a never-ending game of cat and mouse, a twisted friendship forged in science and sarcasm. So what is this dark and hilarious saga really about? The final pillar of Portal's lore is its philosophy, and it's all summed up in its most famous line: "The cake is a lie." On the surface, it's a joke, a promised reward that never comes. But it's also a perfect metaphor for Aperture Science itself. The company was built on a foundation of lies. They promised progress, but delivered disaster. They promised safety to their test subjects, but delivered death. They promised to push the boundaries of science for the good of humanity, but only did so for their own reckless ambition. Portal is a powerful cautionary tale about science without ethics. It shows what happens when the pursuit of knowledge is completely divorced from morality. But it's also a profoundly lonely story. It's about the loneliness of Chell, the last human in a world of machines. And it's about the loneliness of GLaDOS, an immortal, all-powerful consciousness trapped in a machine, whose only way to interact with the world is through sarcasm and lethal testing. The cake is the lie that GLaDOS tells Chell, but it's also the lie she tells herself, that any of this has a point. In the end, Portal is a masterpiece of contrasts. It's a hilarious tragedy, a minimalist epic, a puzzle box that, once opened, reveals a profound and unsettling story about the dangers of unchecked ambition. It reminds us that the most terrifying dystopias aren't always born from evil intentions, but sometimes from the most optimistic and dangerously misguided ones.
Here at the Future Past, we believe that exploring these fallen corporate utopias and scientific nightmares is crucial. They are the cautionary tales that show us the hidden costs of a future promised to be for science. If you enjoyed this test protocol and survived the neurotoxin, subscribe to our channel. and join us as we continue to unearth the incredible futures that never were and the ones that are still alive.